Okay, great. Thank you, Michaela. And so I'll pass it on to Bronwen to begin the session.
Thanks, Andrew. And thanks for introducing yourself earlier, Jeannie. It's great to have you here from Homalco First Nation joining us. Really excited to have you here to share your experience using this tool. My name is Bronwen Geddes, and I'm joining you today from the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. I live near the Fraser River in Vancouver, and really pleased to be with you all here today. Thanks for joining us. This session is on a tool that we've been building for, gosh, a couple of years now, and it came from an idea, as many of these projects do, and the idea was, what if we could take the CCP handbook and turn it into an online tool where community planners could use it to go through the steps of the planning process and get some support around figuring out what's next and getting some support with tracking all the work they do in the planning process, all the engagements, all the communications, uploading all the meeting minutes. What if we could do that? Wouldn't that be a neat kind of thing to do? And we thought, okay, well, let's see what we can do. So the idea was there. IS provided some support to, I think that's a different presentation. Looks really nice though. So the idea came up and we ran with it. So do you want me to share mine or you're gonna pop it back? Okay, great. All good. So yeah, so that was the basic idea. If you want to go to the next slide, Andrew. The plan for today is basically to go through, share with you some of the background and development on the CCP Planner and share some of the features of it with you. And then to have Jeannie share some of her experiences and why Homalco became interested in the tool and is piloting it right now. And then we're going to do a live demo as well to show you what it looks like in action. I have some screenshots in the presentation, but I also wanted to be able to show you what it looks like when you're using it. So that's the basic gist for today. Anyone have any questions at this point? I did have some Menti slides that I wanted to put up a poll, but I'm thinking it might be more of a distraction than a help at this point. But basically would love to hear as we're going along what kind of tools you've used in your community planning process, if you've been involved in one, what kind of technological supports you've used and tools and so on. So feel free to share that in the chat at any point, as well as where you're joining us from today. Okay, next slide, please. So the idea behind this tool was to, there were a few ideas. One was to streamline the planning process in general, to provide support to planners, because it's really hard to support the planners in community. They might get the funding, maybe they come to the CCP workshop, they get lots of great ideas, then people are often feel their own. Heard from a lot of planners in different First Nations that it can feel kind of isolating. It's hard to get people on board sometimes. We wanted to kind of create some support for the planners and also to support them in tracking their engagements and communications and all the amazing work that they're doing. It's a unique process going through CCP, and there's often a lot of meeting notes. There's a lot of photos to share. There might be videos, audio recordings, and we wanted to make it simple for people to keep that in one place and to be able to track engagements and communications, because that's not something that you can find really on any other tools that we're aware of that are out there. It's pretty hard to find something that specific to this process. And we wanted to automate some of the reporting as well, so that planners who are in community and focused on doing all the engagements and doing all the good work and getting people on board are not also necessarily having to do all the number crunching and graphs and that kind of thing. And we wanted to be able to support them with some of that work. So next slide, please. In terms of how we went about this, it was based, as I mentioned, on the process that's outlined in the CCP handbook. So there are different guides and books out there that go through what a CCP process can look like. We specifically used the CCP handbook, which was developed by BC First Nations gosh, probably about 15 years ago, and has been revised a couple of times. And we took the CCP handbook and got a group of the CCP mentors from BC, including Jesse Hempel and Sandra Harris. They were kind of some of the key ones that were involved in regular meetings around developing this tool. And also Colette Anderson, who used to work at ISC and is a big CCP advocate. We worked through the CCP handbook and broke it out step by step and said, what should be in this online tool? What can we take out? We didn't want to put all the information from the handbook into the tool because it would make the tool too big and too full of information. And we wanted to strip it down to kind of the basics. So that was the process we went through. The advisory group reviewed all of the steps, really reduced the content, added some new information where we thought things might be missing, linked various resources we were all familiar with, created some key questions for planners to go through, and communications, age tracking needs, and some of the reports that we thought would be helpful for planners. Next slide, please. So great thing is, this was developed with funding from ISC. It was developed originally with the funding came through Not-So-Much Tribal Council, and now the tool is being tested and piloted. It's free for all First Nations to use. They just need to be trained in it and need to log in. And it is underpinned with technology by our technology partners, eCenter Research, and we have Steve and Sue in this meeting in the background, just in case need some support with anything. They were helping with all the technology. And ongoing support is available when using the planning reporting tool. So it's pretty great that way. And we're going to, I put my email address up there, but also if you're interested in trying out the CCP Planner, like from a user perspective, we're going to be offering a couple of trainings later in October. And Steve will pop that link in the chat a little bit later to see if you'd like to sign up for one of the sessions to actually get online and use it. Next slide, please. So what is this thing and what can it do? I've mentioned some of this already. Online, secure platform. All the data is stored in Canada in secure column encrypted things that Steve could speak much more eloquently to. It includes the steps, each step of the planning process with key information for each, allows development of timelines, work cycles, tracking, engagement and communications, linking documents, and some reports, including like a Gantt chart, if you're familiar with that, which is a work planning tool, planning progress, graphics, and engagement charts. Next, please. Okay, so these are just a few screenshots, but it'll be more fun when we're doing the live demo. I just wanted to give you a flavor for it. It is this online tool. You log in through our website, you put in your email and your passcode, and you get in there and you can enter the name of the planning coordinator. You can enter some key contacts. Next slide. You can scroll through, and there are, if you go to the next slide, please, Andrew, there's it's broken out by tabs into the pre-planning stages and planning. We haven't quite gotten to implementation yet because it's a much more complicated process and very unique to each community, but ideally we'd like to get there too. But it breaks it down, all the various steps, potential steps of the planning and pre-planning and planning phases of the CCP process are in there. And the idea is not that every community needs to go through every step by any means. They're just all there, and you can populate the information for the steps that are relevant for you and your community. Under each of the tabs that are there, there's some key questions, there's some resource links, there's a start end date, there's options for adding more detail around each of those. And if you go to the next slide, under each of those tab steps, there is also the opportunity for you to track any engagements you've done relative to that step or any communications. So under engagements, you can name the type of engagement, say what type it is, put in the date, share information on what participants joined that particular session. Any comments you have, you can upload documents that relate to that particular engagement. And then you can do the same basically for communications as well. You can track how many newsletters did we send out, how many Facebook posts did we make, so we've broken out engagement and communication separately based on feedback from the advisory group saying that we really want to make sure those are tracked separately. Engagement is very much like where it's a two-way interaction process, whereas communications is kind of sending information out. So we've made it possible to track both of those and track them separately. Next slide, please. So this is an example of what some of the reports look like. And this is a Gantt chart view, which has actually changed now since I made this presentation. We just made some modifications to it so you can see things a little more cleanly and break and condense it into like a 1 year view or a 6 month view so that you can see all of the steps that you've put in and what you should be doing in each month. So say, okay, it's October now. I really need to be doing these parts of the plan. This was in my work plan to do these stages next. So we'll go to the next slide. And another report looks like this is communications by type. So you can see how many newsletters are sent out. It says there are 2 newsletters sent out, 2 website updates made, 1 announcement, 2 social media posts. This is just me inputting some mock information. And once we have Jeannie with all of her information in there, she'll have a much more robust, looking graphs for us. But this, you get a sense of what's available here. If you go to the next slide. The next one shows participant groups in engagement sessions. So it goes through the different people. You might decide just to track total number of participants, which is an option when we go through it, and that's the column on the left. Or you can track by group. So say you want to track exactly how many people from leadership are there, or from administration, or elders, family heads, youth, community groups, off reserve, other. So it gives you the option as the planner to decide whether you're tracking total number of participants or by type. So it gives you those options. And if you think about this, you could print it out at any point in the planning process. If you were doing a community update, you could say, look how many people we've engaged so far. Or if you're doing an update for administration, you could say, okay, here's where we're at with the plan. And it would be just a click of a button and it shows everything that you put in, which is kind of fun. So that was my little quick overview of what the tool is. And before we give you a live demo, I wanted to give Jeannie a chance to share. If you go to the next slide, Andrew. And this is sort of a little lead in for Jeannie saying that, that this is what Homalco needed to help with the planning, allows us to keep all of our documentation in one place. And with that, I'd ask if Andrew could pull the slides, and I'll hand it over to Jeannie to share what interested her and Homalco in using this tool.
Good morning, everybody. So this was introduced to us back in early summer, and I wasn't really understanding it in the beginning until I actually went through it all and started really kind of looking at everything. And in my office, I got all sorts of files, and then I got files on the computer, and then I got, binders full of different stuff. And it's so, when I start looking for something, I feel like I'm going on a, some type of a search when I have to go backwards and look for stuff. I had Excel stuff created. I had my work kind of all over the place trying to keep it together. And, when somebody would ask for something, I'd be like, oh my God, I'd have to try and figure out where I stored that. Was that something on the computer? Was that something I filed away? So I was kind of really excited when I started really going through this, and I could see that it is by the CCP handbook. So, as Bronwen said, it's not everything, but it's the more important things. It's being able to log all of your events in. And I haven't had a chance yet to look at the changes that were made. We had a person who was assisting us and helping us, and we were asked to give our feedback to it. And in a way that we thought that would be easy for everybody to be able to use it, and was helpful. So I've never been a very huge tech person, but I really try. I kind of was struggling in moving documents from, you know, where I had them to be able to put them in there. But that's only because like I'm not very extremely tech savvy. But once you move all your information, you can move like all the photos of your event into one specific place. You know what I mean? You can move your surveys. So it's like you can open up like one file and you have like absolutely everything that came from each event that you do. In moving forward. So it's like, you know, if somebody asked you for like, you know, photos, or if somebody asked you for anything really, it's like all there. You're not like, you know, searching through your computer, you're not going to look in your files, you're, you know, you have everything. And I guess it's just, you know, like, I guess how you would like, you know, name the event so that you would like be able to like find it basically. But I mean, I find that everything that's put here for me going forward, I don't have to look all over my office. I don't have to look for everything. It's like in one solid place. And if I should like transition out and somebody else like comes in, they're going to be able to like come in and like go through and review the entire process in one place without like, you know, asking questions, hunting for stuff. So I was actually really excited when, you know, I was asked to like, you know, be a part of it after I really came to understand, you know, what it was that they were like developing, you know, going forward. Because I know when I started way back in like 2018, I was really lucky to have 2 students who were like extremely tech savvy, and they were really good at like kind of keeping, you know, all of our information together to some extent. But now it's like, now I can put all that information in one spot and I don't have to worry about hunting for anything. I still, you know, at this point, it'll take me a while to move pictures of each event into, you know, the one spot, but at least I know when I'm finished, like, you know, like I'm saying, it's going to be like so easy to be able to like find information, to be able to go back and forth. It'll be easy for the next person that comes into my position. So I'm really grateful for, you know, being able to be a part of this. And I think that's about all I have to talk about.
Awesome, Jeannie. Thank you so much for being part of it. And despite, you know, not being tech savvy, as you say, that you are willing to jump in and give it a try, and that you're getting the hang of it. So that is amazing. So with that, assuming I can share my screen here, I'm going to pull up the login page. So after you log in on the CCP Planner, this is kind of what it looks like. Some of the things here you won't see because they're related to other tools we're developing, like a communications app for First Nations. So if you're just using the CCP Planner, you wouldn't see this communications box, but you will see collections, which are different tools and assessments that can be used. And it's right here, CCP Planner. And so I'll click on that and just give you a sense. You've already got kind of a bit of a sense of what it looks like, but I just wanted to show you live as well. That when you log in, there are some gray boxes or different places that have a lot more information in them. If you want to click and feel like reading, then there is the information there, but we tried to keep the space as uncluttered as possible. So you can enter the information about the planning coordinator. You can add some key contacts. You can choose contacts. I put you in there, Jeannie. This is just all sample demo data here. And then you can select the contacts that are relevant for you for the CCP process. And these would be contacts that would be common to your community too. So it also creates a database of contacts in the community. As I mentioned before, it's broken down into pre-planning and planning steps. So the pre-planning steps, again, there's a little bit of introductory text, and then under each tab, you can read some information about what readiness step means or stage. You can link to some tools that might help you. Some of them might look familiar. You can click on them. I think you will see this. Do you see the capacity planning tool now? So it links to different resources that might be relevant to you at this stage in the process. You can add a start and end date, and that's what populates the Gantt chart or the work plan. You can also click on the status, and this is what will feed the report that relates to your progress on the whole CCP and all the steps. You can put not yet begun, not in progress, complete, or not applicable. And if you put not applicable, then that means it's something you're not doing in your community, so it won't show up in your progress chart, which is kind of handy. And then you can go through some of the key questions, if you like, that we've put in here to help guide you through the readiness stage. And then as you go down, you can track engagement, name engagement on here, and it dynamically changes up top. You can say, oh, this is an open house that we're doing on next week, and we won't track the participants yet because we don't know how many people actually showed up. But let's say it was on October 1st, and now we know who showed up. Oh, there were 4 people from leadership there. There were 7 people from the band office, from our staff. We had 2 family heads, which was amazing. We had, a whole bunch of people from the youth group came, and we even got 3 people. Oh, maybe it was virtual. And so we had, 12 people off reserve join the open house that we did. And then you could add any comments that you have related to how that engagement went. And then you keep saving things so that you don't lose them. And then you can go down and also track things like communications related to that particular stage in the process. So you can talk about, that we updated the website or did a presentation or an announcement, flyers. And again, you can track who that information went out to, if you know. For communications, sometimes it's hard to know exactly who got the information. So instead, you could just track total audience and say, well, we have an email list of 100, so we know that all 100 people got that information. So you can choose to track by group or by total as you wish. And then you can add files related to that stage. So you can add, there's the option, and when you get into the training, you can see that you can have personal files or you can have shared files. So those are open to the whole community. This is a new update that they've just made. So you could go into my files or shared files, wherever you've uploaded things, add them to that particular stage in the process. And then you keep going. So that's a little bit what it looks like. Any questions at this point? Please feel free to unmute. I haven't been looking in the chat. Is there anything in the chat? It's hard to see it when you're screen sharing, but please let me know if there are. And then there's also all the planning steps: vision and values, setting goals and objectives, doing a community analysis, the CCP framework, mapping, activities, projects, quick start projects. So again, you go through all the pieces: start, end date, tracking engagements, all the same thing. And then when you are done, you can go, I think I've already saved, so I can go back to organization tab and click on reporting. And this is where you get to see some of the magic happen. Oh, wait, there's a question. Hi there. Yes.
Well, hi there. We're just completing our plan and using a consultant. And I doubt that I mean, he wouldn't have used any of this material, but can you start sort of after the fact? I mean, I would primarily be interested now in tracking and reporting. Can you sort of start on this partway through the process of planning and entering the material?
Great question. And the short answer is yes. You could absolutely go in at any point. I know we've talked to one community that was interested in using it, but they were finished their plan, and although they kind of wanted to see it in, they like might want to work back and put it in. But of course, you can go in and play with it and use it however you like. So if you want to do it all retroactively and pick dates that happened in the past, you can do that. And then you can, I'll show you some of the reports that you can see. And selecting all of them, you can choose which kind of report you'd like to see, but this gives you a sense of what they all look like. They come out in a few seconds, the reports, which is kind of handy. So if you're not so far along in the process that you think this might still be helpful to you, or you think it might be helpful for future planners, or if you're doing another CCP in the future, by all means, we'd invite you to use it and give it a try and give us your feedback. This summary one shows based on whether you said the step was complete or not complete or in progress. And you can click on them and it will show you, you haven't yet begun engagement, background research, community profile, partnership. So it'll give you some information based on what you've entered in each of the steps. So in progress, we've got the CCP team which is ongoing, and communications are ongoing. These are the things we've completed. We've gone through readiness, learning about CCP work plan. We've found funding. We've got a CCP coordinator. We're on our way. So in response to your question, I think you can very much jump in at any point. It doesn't have to be from the very beginning at all. And in fact, it's probably quite satisfying to go back and enter some of the data that you already have. So then you can see charts on engagement, participant type, so community by, all the different things. I think I put in community meeting last night or just now, sorry. So it would be different than the graphs on the presentation I showed. Engagement participants by type shows you all the types that we put in. This is communications by type and by audience. So it all populates sort of dynamically as you go through and based on what you last saved. This is the newer version of the Gantt chart right here that you can see in the show you. If you click on pre-planning, then it will show you all of the steps that you've inputted information for and when you said you'd be doing them or when they'd be happening. So you can get a sense from month to month of what that looks like under either pre-planning or planning. So you can get a sense of over the full length of the period of time. Sorry, there we go. And then at the bottom, this is where you can change whether you want to show, year to date or a 6-month period. And then again, you would open up the steps to see where you're at in that period. A nice thing you can do is also print. Over here, you can print the chart that you've selected. So you can actually print it out and put it on your desk and say, okay, here's my CCP process, let's go, and give you a little bit of something to work from. I think those are the various reports that are currently available on the tool. So I'm gonna stop sharing for the moment and see if there are any other questions out there, or feedback, thoughts, reactions.
Before I forget, Bronwen, I'll put the link for the training sessions coming up for the CCP in case people want to sign up. So it'll be you should see it in the chat now, a link to sign up.
Perfect. So yeah, if anyone's interested in actually getting a training, I think we've set them up for 90 minutes or 2 hours, Steve, I can't remember. But you can select one to come to and we'll get you on the system and you can play around with it and see if it's for you. Trisha.
Hi. Yeah. Well, this looks really great. I Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the planner because I wasn't involved in the planning with Staminas when they did their first community plan, but I'll probably be involved in it next year when we're going to start to roll this out. So I'm very excited about the fact that they've got this online program. It feels like it almost could be doable. And so you're saying that it's going to be available next year. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, it's available right now. So, and we just constantly are making little changes to it as people are using it and figuring out what works and what doesn't. It takes quite a long time to make it user-friendly, and but it's really available now. So all the things that I've shown you, they're all operational, and you can get started.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thanks.
And that's partly the intent of the sessions coming up, that anybody that would like to hear more or actually get an account to be able to log in and start playing with it for their community, then that's what the 2 upcoming sessions are for, where the link in the chat can, anybody that joins in there, we'll assume they want an account and we'll create one for them, but we'll cover that in those sessions.
Yeah, so if you'd like to join that, Tricia, just to get more of a sense of it, and so you can show people in Staminas, you know, a little bit more about what it's about, you're welcome to. Or when people in your community are ready to jump in, then we can offer them a training at that point too.
Great, thanks. I'm going to go register right now.
Great. Other feedback or thoughts? You're speechless, right? Everyone's just can't believe this is real. It's what you've been waiting for. Steve or Sue, did you want to add anything else about the functionality that you're adding, or any new things on the system that I might not be aware of too?
Well, we've got a few more things that came through feedback from the kind of the initial pilot communities that we're going to finish off, but largely it's pretty close. We had a couple of major shifts, one of them being how we handle files, and we discovered along the way that there's actually a need for communities to upload a variety of files, including potentially audio or video, or some pretty large files. So we had to kind of pivot and do a completely different architecture and solution on that front, but it's in there now. And being able to organize files like, you know, like a shared file drive for the community is now there, versus, you know, your personal files that you may organize on the system generally, because the planner is one component. You know, this isn't about the other components, but the system, the same platform has a number of other elements. It has communications app for communities to leverage. It has a networking module for, you know, mentorship and discussion boards and chat and all that stuff internally. It's kind of like an intranet. So, I mean, there are lots of other potential uses on the system for communities, but today's focus, of course, is on the planner. But the communications app in particular is both a web and a mobile component. So any member of the community can have on their mobile device the app for your community, and everything from community updates to urgent situations, sharing resources, files, doing polls, surveying people, getting the complete registration forms for events, posting events, all of that kind of communication that came out of feedback from, you know, Not Smart member nations, for example. So lots of things that we're excited about, that's for sure.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Steve. And there are a few people here from Not Smart Tribal Council as well. So the communications app is going to be, I think, super, super exciting too. It's not specific to CCP, but I also think it would be really helpful to use in a planning context, because you could get surveys out to members instantly. Anyone who's downloaded the app can receive notifications of upcoming events. They can register for things. They can see the latest newsletters. They can post, you know, they can see the latest updates. They can actually post alerts if anything is, you know, amiss in community. Then the users of the app can send that out to other users as well. It's a pretty neat tool, and it is complementary to the CCP Planner, obviously, because this businesses be working on focus tool, which is available across BC. But the communications app is going to be a pretty great one too. So we'll make sure to invite you to that one as well, Tricia, and I know Homalco is interested in it as well. So we're going to do some demos for that soon too. All right. Well, if you have other questions, many of you know how to reach me. I will put my email address again in the chat. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, bronweng@notsmot.com. Otherwise, really appreciate you taking the time to sit with us today and learn about this tool. And I hope to see some of you on the sessions we are offering on the 26th and 28th of October to get you onboarded.
Well, we have 2 registered